Get 2 pins. You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. Happy Wednesday, everybody. How's everybody doing? We figured we'd go a little old school, bring back the table. We got the bench back. Welcome to the Dangerous Liberty Podcast, where we know the only thing more dangerous than liberty is the lack thereof. All right, we got some folks in here. Jeff Hahn, how you doing? Jason Sponsor, Dave Levy, Mike Hinn. Summer, how was your week?
It was good.
Yeah?
There was something I was going to talk about tonight when you asked me how was my week, but I forgot already.
You have a pen. You should have made some notes.
Well, it was earlier today, and I didn't have time to write it down.
Chris, how was your week?
I'm living the dream, brother.
Sweet.
Second week off for paternity leave.
Still got like 60 more weeks to go.
Yeah. Me and the wife aren't killing each other yet. I mean, we had a couple days out. We enjoy each other's company. It's
Already got another baby on the way?
I mean, I don't think that's possible, but
It doesn't well, I won't say
we might be practicing.
that. Robin will kill me. I don't want the wrath of Robin upon me.
That's a good call.
Jason Kavagazaf, welcome.
He says he's in Qatar, but he's going to cut his travel short.
I guess so.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
William, good to see you. Oh, there we go.
Robin
Said to Chris, you need a haircut.
I was thinking he was letting his hair go a little wild since he's been off on paternity leave.
Remington wants to grow his hair out. I told him I'd do it with him.
Yeah?
So we'll see what happens. I'll get tired of it eventually.
Oh, man, I can't stand it. Once it starts going a little wide on the above the ear balls.
Mine's super light, so yeah. I got a little salt and pepper action.
Fair enough there. All right, folks, I want to welcome everybody. Again, for those of you that are tuning in after this show, again, we're here live every Wednesday. And, what's great about the live podcast, again, you guys get to interact. And what's also great is, we are not subject matters on everything, subject matter experts on everything, right? And what's really great is we get the collective knowledge, expertise of everybody in the audience, regardless of what topic that we're covering. So it's a lot of fun to have you guys interact. It's a lot of fun to have you guys, add some context, add the comments, add the questions. So we want to make sure that if you're watching this not live, you start joining us every Wednesday live. We want you part of this community. It's really important to us. So make sure all of you guys go ahead, like, share, throw comments down below. If you haven't said hello yet, make sure you're saying hello. I see Richie Fattrell just jumped in. Willie Everett, good to see you, buddy. We like to have a lot of fun on this podcast, and we will tonight to some extent too. But I do want to.
You can't help but it with me, you, and Chris together.
That's absolutely true. It's a shit show to say the least, usually. But I do want to talk a little bit more about a serious topic. We're definitely going to cover the attacks in Israel. I'm going to go through a brief timeline, but I also want to make sure that we cover some of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand or know. So again, it's really important to us to cover some of these topics that are not only important from a world perspective, but I want to also talk about how it relates to your everyday readiness, your preparedness, and also what I expect to kind of see coming out of this. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. And we'll get into a little bit about why I think that. And I want to hear your guys' comments as well. We got Frosty Travels coming in there. Justin, good evening. And anybody else that hasn't said hello, make sure you do so that we can recognize you. We had these attacks this past week, and I want to go through this timeline, but again, I want to talk about some of the other portions of this as well. And I think, folks, we just need to be making sure that you're ready, right, in different ways, and we'll talk more about that. So first of all, we had these attacks from Hamas. One thing that I want to cover right off the bat, folks, is the fact that it really infuriates me how we have the current media and the Democratic Party in general justifying in many different ways or downplaying the attacks from Hamas as well as the entire situation in Palestine. It really irritates me that they are giving credence to a clear terrorist organization, and we have gotten so far away from our resolve that we had on 9/11, and it bothers me to my core. And I gotta be honest with you, when this was taking place the other day, that's the first thing I went back to. It felt like, to me, felt like 9/11 all over again. You're watching things on TV, actual events of people dying, people being murdered, and it almost feels surreal.
I believe they're actually saying this is our 9/11.
I'm sure. We're going to talk about. I mean, they had on a country, what, a tenth, even less than a tenth. I don't know what the size of Israel is population wise compared to the U.S., but it's at least a tenth, if not much smaller. They had 1,200 people murdered, and again on 9/11 we had right around 3,000. So, and then on top of that, you not only have these people being murdered from these thousands of rockets that are coming into their country, which happens on a pretty regular basis. I don't even know that if we can relate the average person, the average civilian in Israel, that are almost always under some sort of threat, always living with the idea that a rocket could come and hit their home, hit their kids' schools. They have suicide bombers that go through there. They have active shooters coming from Palestine and from Hamas all the time. And again, it just infuriates me that we have sitting congressmen and women that are saying that these attacks are the fault of Israel. Nothing could be further from the truth. And if you feel that way, I don't even know what to say. We'll welcome your comments. We'll address it. But I have a hard time taking any of that nonsense seriously, considering what is going on in the world and what's going on with Israel every single day. They are terrorist attacks. They are not, trying to fight off aggressors or anything else. You can't even associate the two. There's no justification.
Dave Levy brought up a good comparison. He said Israel has 9 million people per capita, would be 50,000 dead on 9/11. That's over 10 times,
Yeah, I mean, 50,000 dead. That's the equivalent of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And again, Dave, I'm glad you tuned in. I know we were talking a little bit earlier. I'm glad you're here to provide some of that information on there. Frosty Travel says at least Israel is arming all the citizens to protect themselves. Absolutely. And in the past few years, they've kind of started moving toward more of a gun control model. They started not encouraging people to carry guns as much and started regulating guns even more. And we see how important this is for an armed populace to be armed so that governments aren't turning their people into victims, which is exactly, I'm not saying they did that, but I'm saying that's exactly what our government is doing here. If something like this, some sort of attack occurred like this,
they would say, not to worry, we've got it under control.
Absolutely. It's a crazy thing taking place. And the other thing, anybody that is even entertaining the idea that what happened there can't happen here, number one, you've clearly already forgotten 9/11. And, we just I think we need to reorient our individual security posture. So a few things that took place on this. I want to go through the timeline very briefly. For Jason Sponsler out there, I'll make sure that I have nothing highlighted, and we'll keep this short and simple. But at 6:35 a.m. Israeli time, basically we had an attack. This first air raid sirens are activated. They launched approximately 3,000 to 5,000. They claimed, I believe they claimed 5,000. They're saying that was at 7 a.m. there, or 7 p.m. rather. We had, I'm sorry, I'm jumping down here, but we had over 3,000 to 5,000 rocket attacks. And again, that's something that they've been doing for many years all the time. The other thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is, Hamas fighters use explosives. They use paragliders, boats, motorcycles, and other vehicles. This was an attack via land, sea, and air. The amount of coordination that went into this attack, I think, is just unbelievable. Understanding how complicated and sophisticated this attack was, I think, is something that is being lost on most Americans out there. And if they were able to pull that off in, Israel, folks, those same types of terrorists can definitely pull off an attack here in the United States. Maybe not as to a large degree, but, again, that is a level of sophistication that we just haven't seen in a really long time. And I think people need to realize that. More than 1,200 people were killed in Israel. at least 22 Americans. Over 150 people were kidnapped and taken hostage into Gaza. Folks, women, children, toddlers, and infants were massacred, and many of those were beheaded. And I saw that headline at first, and I started looking this up, and you have Al Jazeera and all these other different news organizations claiming that is false information. But then you dig into it a little bit deeper. Number one, there's been many Israeli government heads and government folks that have come forward and actually verified that stuff. So again, they're committing atrocities on a level that we just can't imagine. And this is it's nothing short of a terrorist attack. And it bothers me that there's Americans out there that are protesting, that are pro-Palestine on this regard. You can have a political difference when it comes to the situation between Palestine and Israel. I think that's valid. But there is it's pretty cut and dry what we need to be calling these attacks, and they're terrorist attacks and nothing short.
Hamas is funded and backed by Iran. Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. The fact of the matter is we have a U.S. government that's saying that there's no clear tie between Iran and, these attacks, which is another absolute lunacy.
Have they put out have any of the hostages been recovered or rescued?
I think there has been a few that have been recovered, but I think for the most part, the vast majority of them are still in Gaza. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. We got Frosty Travel says people need to understand if this happens here, we're in serious trouble. No way we can ramp up to fight a major conflict. We have lost our infrastructure and mass production of military equipment. That is absolutely true. Our ability to produce, that's what won World War II, was our ability to produce and mass produce weapons, and a lot of those capabilities just don't even exist anymore. Like we couldn't produce on a large scale the way that we did back in the 40s, which ultimately won World War II. Jeff Hahn says there is no Israeli presence at all in Gaza, whereby in the West Bank, the IDF patrols it daily and has checkpoints. McSpook says, I don't know, Frosty, the mic is still going strong, and the U.S. has always been good at ramping up when needed. I think that's that mindset, and you may be right to some extent, Jeff. We may
be capable of ramping up. I don't think the mindset is there to ramp up. I think they're like, oh, we need to try to work this out and talk this out.
Well, there's that. But I think, I believe that we're possibly beyond the time that we could ramp things up if we wanted to. I think we have put so much production overseas that there's so much capability lost that if we really needed to fight a war on a global scale, I'm not sure that we'd truly be able to. And then our response time, again, you're talking about different plants and things like that, and the ability to produce things that we don't have that ability, that it might take years to even get to a point where we do have that
You don't think the private sector and the whole industrial military complex is going to speed up to help out with some of that?
I mean, sure, maybe.
I know we're going off into the weeds.
But at the end of the day, it's going to take a year to get some of this stuff, at least just to have the ability to start producing it, have the plants, have the raw materials, have the plants, have the production machines. Like we don't. It would take a year, no matter how fast we'd want to do that. And the other thing too is, like, we're not producing raw materials anymore. So even if we decide to build that type of infrastructure, we'd be relying heavily on overseas materials as well. Like, we don't have the mining capabilities that we used to. We don't have the steel production that we used to have. Like, we rely on China for all that. So, I honestly think that is a mindset of, yeah, we could if we needed to. I'm not sure that that's true. I'm not sure that we could ramp up in time. And again, if it took us a year to even be able to start those production lines, it may be too late.
Jeff says the mindset's never there until it's needed, which in some ways I agree with. I mean, if you think about 9/11 and the period of time just after 9/11 where everybody wanted to go kick some terrorist butt.
Yeah.
perhaps that mindset could change. But if you don't have the physical capabilities to back up the mindset, then what use is it?
Yeah, I mean, we can change the mindsets in America can change overnight. That's that's not a problem. The problem is I don't know. Maybe somebody's really smart out there. Do we have the ability to actually produce raw materials? Do we have the ability to refine those materials and turn those into products? I'm not sure that we do anymore.
Well,
what do you
all
think,
the unions
Chris?
are on strike, so
I think you're hitting the nail on the head. It's going to come down to, I mean, me in my situation to have not been in an active war zone and seeing what we need, or been around during World War II and know about bonds, and they shut down the car industry just to build tanks or Jeeps and stuff like that. I think it's going to come down to the individual citizen, how much they're going to step up and here's the biggest thing. Who's going to step up and say, okay, here's A, B, and C, what we need from these people. Is there anybody that's even going to do that?
Well,
I think there are plenty of guys like Gary, guys like.
I'm talking nationwide guys.
Gotcha.
Well, at the end of the day,
president level or secretary level or Congress level saying, hey.
I thought you meant like the average Joe.
No, average Joe. I think there's plenty of us around here that'll be like, hey, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, I'll do this. But at the Congress level, is there somebody that we're going to go, oh, okay, whatever you say, that's what we're going to do? I don't think there's that guy.
you're saying we just don't have the political leaders with any real resolve.
I mean, a president can't walk up steps.
That's what we're against some of that too.
We start getting, you said 3,000 to 5,000 rockets here. Are they going to just head to the FEMA bunker and be like, we're fine, but you all
going back to the production thing for a second, folks. All we had to do is look at what happened during COVID. If China and Taiwan, if China cuts us off from chips and the higher end chips come from Taiwan, which we are, but all they have to do is blockade those. Like, we can't produce computers, we can't produce
nothing,
anything. We couldn't even produce cars without those. I mean, we are so. I think people need to wake up,
because all the primer factories are overseas as well.
100%. All those raw materials were overseas. So I think people need to wake up, and we're living in this idea. Oh, we could if we wanted to. Again, I'm not buying that.
Which
anymore.
goes back
I don't
to
think we can.
So I'm on a Costco like Facebook page, Costco finds and fans or something like that, and people posting stuff for sale at Costco and these cool things. And there's been all these posts lately about Costco selling these 1 ounce gold bars.
Sure.
And they sell out literally within like 5 minutes of listing every single time. And people are like, oh, we're hedging against some instability in the market and we're collecting them. And I'm like, I commented on it one time. I was like, well, you can't eat gold. What you need to be diversifying against instability with some other items too. Like
Sure.
I'm not getting into that
food
one,
and ammo. But like,
there might be a couple of those in my safe.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I didn't say there's wrong with anything wrong
I'm
with
just
it.
saying, you're giving it hell.
No, but
that's going to be a good trade point.
What I'm saying is, there's nothing wrong with having those, but as long as you have other things too.
Well, I'm going to talk about that because the reality is, just like you said, you can't eat gold, you can't eat silver. On top of that,
You can't eat bullets either.
it's also great. Well,
You can shoot something. that you
here's the
can eat.
thing. One of my points down here is food and water supplies don't mean anything if you can't defend them, and you also can't use food and water supplies if you don't have actually during an attack. So, I think that has to be step one, is making sure that you're armed and ready to, again, defend yourself, defend your family, if there is an attack anywhere. And then, I think that is step one. You want to get prepared, and most of us that are watching this right now you have some level of, some sort of firearms, some sort of ammunition, and I think you need to start plussing up on those. And then once you have a good base for that, then we can start moving into food and water preparation, which, Jeff Hahn's been on here several times. We've talked about it several times. All of that stuff is important, and you can obviously be doing these things all at once. But, having a good supply of food and water when when shit hits the fan, all that does is make you a target.
Yeah.
You're a resource-rich environment,
You're the grocery store.
and you're now also a target-rich environment. So you got to be able to defend those things, and I think that is step one. So, again, if you haven't read up on all the different things that took place in Israel, and again, going back to how sophisticated and how well executed, folks, this was shockingly well executed. That it definitely was, rehearsals were involved, mass coordination was involved. And this kind of brings me into my second point on this is this attack is an American failure, without a doubt. It is absolutely an American intelligence failure for one. America has the most sophisticated and advanced intelligence apparatus that has ever existed. But for the last few years, we have not been directing that. That has not been our priority. Terrorism itself has not been our priority.
Well,
What's that?
certain kinds of terrorism.
Well, the problem is that, we have been, this administration specifically has been creating this false narrative that white supremacist extremism is the number one threat in America. I think anybody with one single brain cell between their ears knows that's not true. We have all kinds of different terrorist states that are getting stronger. They're getting better funded than they have ever been before, that are still gunning for America. And we need to quit directing these intel assets that were developed for fighting terrorism. Now that they've lost the war in Iraq, we've lost the war in Afghanistan, and now they have nothing left to do. So now they're redirecting this and creating an enemy within our own country and turning Americans on one another and directing these assets toward Americans. And it's not justified, for one. But number two, if we had been paying more attention to what was going on in the Middle East, America should have picked up on this. This is a huge intelligence failure on our part.
It seems like it was well planned on the part of Hamas, because I read that they pretty much attacked places that they knew people would be on.
Oh, it was. I mean, extremely well
For
coordinated.
the very soft targets.
Gun-free zones.
Yeah.
Extremely well coordinated, extremely well executed. I mean, it's really is mind-boggling that they were able to pull this off the way they did. I mean, they were using paragliders, boats, land, sea, and air, folks.
The other question I have, and forgive me for not knowing or reading up on this ahead of time, but why didn't the anti-rocket defense system
Well,
stop?
they did, but they were overwhelmed.
Gotcha.
I mean, they're not going to stop 5,000.
I don't know what the capabilities are.
They ironed out before they kept raining.
Yeah, the Iron Dome. I mean, it obviously has the limitations of how many systems.
But I knew that wasn't right.
How many systems they actually have.
Old Steelers defensive line or offensive line.
Yeah, and then the rate of fire. I mean, all those things have definitely a max capability, and they clearly surpassed that. Let's see.
Too, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead, bud.
So I know I'm out of it, and I come to you for all my news because you give me the non-BS part of it. So
You're in trouble.
Gives you the Gary spin.
I'd rather have the Gary spin. At least there's no BS in it. But are we? And reading through this well put together thing tonight, actually, it's super informative. You should almost post it. But are we the only ones helping Israel, or is I'm just, since I don't watch the news because it's total bull anyway? Like, is I hate to say it, is UN, is England, is France, is any other country saying, hey, you know what, this is awful, we'll help?
I haven't seen it. I think Saudi Arabia did reach out.
I think
a lot of people
just rely on us and our.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, we are the UN. That's the thing, that any of these things take place.
Which is a great point that Trump brought up.
Yeah, I mean, any of these ththings take place, it is us.
Everybody just looks over their shoulder, be like, come on, like that. You gonna help? You're in a bar fight. Israel's in a bar fight. And they're looking over their shoulder, like, hey, brother.
Yeah,
you let me get knocked out. You coming?
They got the entire UN behind them, but America's the only one that's going to start swinging fists.
So apparently, German Chancellor, Italian Prime Minister, British Prime Minister, and French President have come out and said that their countries will support Israel in its efforts to defend itself and its people against such atrocities.
And that's
kind of probably have to do that.
Yeah, it's just idle words. There's no doubt about it.
Fancy.
The other thing, the other part of this is a big failure on our part, and I blame the American people, and that is we've put this jackass in the White House that does nothing but project global weakness. Folks, when we pulled out of Afghanistan, that was a game changer. That was the biggest signal to the world that we were no longer engaged in any sort of genuine security operations.
And if you hold out long enough, we'll just leave.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the amount, and on top of that, not only did we project such weakness there and many other places since then, you know, the world knows that we're weak. Our enemies know that we're weak. We know the Biden administration is weak. Our allies don't trust us. No one respects us, and our enemies don't fear us. And that has all changed within a couple of years. And you can say what you want about Trump. All right. Guy's not perfect, but I'll tell you what, our economy was a lot better. And I almost could guarantee you that they would have been afraid to pull something like this while Trump was in office. I really do believe that. I think it wouldn't just be Israel right now doing airstrikes in Palestine and on Hamas. I think we would have our own assets there actively conducting operations, both from a special joint operations standpoint, but also from the air as well.
I saw a call that went out, I believe it was yesterday, asking for 18 Deltas, any 18 Deltas that want to go to Israel.
For those of you who don't know, 18 Delta is a Special Forces medic, U.S. Army Special Forces medic.
I don't know if they're putting together.
I have a theory too
Send it.
about somebody.
Yeah.
Would you like to read it?
So Jason is calling. He's actually sick. We got Jackson back there doing the production back there. How you doing back there, Jackson? I forgot to ask you, how was your week?
You turned off my mic.
I did turn off your mic. we don't need a mic up
mic for
response.
you.
All right, so Jason is calling in a theory. I foresee Taiwan getting invaded by China next if Russia, Iran, China all agree to attack the countries that the U.S. would have to get involved in it and give aid. Spread over a few years, we would be spread so thin across the globe that it would be easy to collapse our economy. Then World War III will begin, and we would be essentially off the board. I don't necessarily see
Radical opinion.
Yeah, no. I don't think he's far off.
You
Again,
think
if China was going to invade Taiwan, I think now would probably be a good time. I don't think they will,
Write
but
that down.
we'll see. I think that China is still preparing for all-out war with us. I really do believe that. I think it's more of like a 2 to 5 year plan. But they're definitely getting geared up in a way that we've never seen before.
Shit, I'll still be alive.
What do we got over here? Hunter says, I think Trump is the most reliable way to F around and find out so shit gets organized.
Not wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like someone else said, everybody, the world as a whole knew that Trump did what he said.
Yeah, and he wasn't afraid to take action. And Dave Levy brings up Soleimani, and we're going to talk about him in just a second as well.
Praise him for spelling that thing right.
It's actually not spelled correctly, but it's close enough.
It looked good to me.
I wouldn't know, to be honest with you.
It looked
And
really good.
I would think, I mean,
Oh.
Dave's a very smart man. So,
I'm missing pages here. We're missing pages.
well, this is what you printed.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3,
Oh, God.
4.
Oh, God, I'm missing a page.
What page? 1, 2, 3, 4.
According to this, Qasem Soleimani is spelled Qassem, but I know chances are they spell it differently. You'll probably find 2 or 3 different ones. I'm just busting on Dave right now. Again,
I like
we
what Jeff Hahn
continually
said.
project weakness globally, and I think that's a real problem, and that's what we're seeing, and why I think we're going to see things are going to get worse before they get better. And I also think that people
You're making me depressed.
globally know that we could have an entire number one, Trump could be back in office. So I think I think the next year, folks, is we are extremely vulnerable
I got another.
because I feel like they think this
theory.
whatever they're going to do is
They're gonna
time
do it while
sensitive.
Biden's
No, I think I have another theory after reading what Jeff Hahn put.
What did Jeff Hahn- look at the Ukraine and
Look for the Ukraine aid to be bundled in with their Israeli aid packages in an effort to bypass.
that they're already doing that. They announced that today.
Well, it's
Kirby
weird.
announced that today.
It's
By the way,
weird that they pushed when they needed to have the budget done.
yeah.
It's weird that
Now
attack
this happens.
Are
and
we
now we
starting
have
our own?
Now
Are
we
we
have.
starting an entire new
give me some
conspiracy
tinfoil
theory?
hat here. It's weird that they're like, whoa, we got to push this out to whatever they did. This happened. They're like, oh my God, let's get this on the new budget as well.
Well,
Because if they would have went on and approved whatever, they would. I'd be like, oh, wow.
I will
They
say
don't have
this.
any money. You can't do anything. So
I am very suspicious of the fact,
There's-
going back to the intelligence failure, I am very suspicious of the fact
I
that
think they
we
do.
didn't have visibility on this.
They knew it.
You know, again, that's an absolute nothing but speculation and theory. But I have a hard time believing that we didn't have assets in the ground
But
that were
Israel's
aware
one of our
of this.
steadfast allies.
Not to the Biden administration.
We
The Democratic Party
probably
has
allow an attack on them.
no, because
We need to allocate money to be
Let's-
and not
let's-
know where it goes.
let's be real. The Democratic Party is diametrically opposed to Israel and everything that they stand for. That's my opinion.
They need the money.
And
They'll get it now.
They're short-sighted. What happens when we need help? We're just gonna
No.
we're just gonna screw over all of our allies, and then when we need help, what do we do?
Grow your own tomatoes.
yeah. You know, going back to this, you know, what we're doing globally, the DOJ talking about Soleimani, invited the Iraqi judge that issued an arrest warrant for President Donald Trump for targeting and killing Soleimani
Arrest warrant in Iraq.
in Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the DOJ actually invited them. There was some outrage. There was people that opposed to it. They ended up calling that off, but he was in D.C. And they're saying now that there was no DOJ personnel that, you know, actually met with him. He definitely met with some different leaders out there, though. And this is the same judge that has very close relations with Iran and travels to Iran and meets with, you know, all the leaders in Iran on a pretty regular basis. Man, I can't believe I lost this. The other big thing, folks, that you need to be aware of is the fact that Hamas is
I
calling for
see
more
it.
attacks.
I
Oh,
see
you
where the
missed-
page is
yeah.
missing.
Yep, there we go. Hamas is calling for more attacks. We had Khalid Mashal, former leader of Hamas, calling for the Friday of Al-Aqsa flood,
What they
which,
say-
by the way,
This
the Al-Aqsa flood is what they called this operation. He said Friday will be the day for Muslims to show anger toward Zionists in America. He called for militants in Muslim countries and also among Muslim diaspora around the world. I have no idea what
So
diaspora
literally
means.
Friday the 13th.
I was about to say it's Friday the 13th.
Yep. And he wants them to participate in the Friday of Al-Aqsa flood.
But you know what? The news organizations, which I'm sure you already know, they're saying that they're calling for protests.
They said that what he said was that he was only calling for protests. So he actually put out a YouTube video where he had these statements. It was thankfully taken down in pretty quick order, but a bunch of screen grabs were found for that.
I'm sure.
And there again, we have every single. I posted this on both YouTube post and Facebook, folks. I saw some of these screen grabs that were taken off that YouTube video on Instagram, and then so I started looking this up to verify it. And Reuters,
I was just reading their article.
all these different, every single major news organization simply said that he was calling. They're basically taking what he said and saying that is nothing but him calling for protests. They leave nothing. They put nothing into the fact that he's actually calling for jihad.
Here's the direct quote that they say they are quoting from his video.
Yeah.
We must head to the squares and streets of the Arab and Islamic world on Friday, the Friday of Al-Aqsa flood. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Bless you.
So
But that's all he said. They're saying that that's all
So
he said.
that portion was when he was talking about the only time that he actually talked about that could be translated as protest was he was talking about putting financial pressure and protesting the financial. But then he goes on to, so there was different sections of this that they conveniently left out. And then he also went on to say he called for Muslims worldwide to carry jihad by their souls and to fight and be martyrs for Al-Aqsa. He wants Muslims to fight against the Jews, starting with Muslims who live in the countries surrounding Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, and other countries to go to the borders and try to enter, each by his own means. He said, this is the time for jihad to be applied on the ground rather than just in theory. He asked the Mujahideen to go into long caravans and spill their blood on the land of Palestine.
Here's an article quoting that he called for them to go confront Israeli soldiers at every opportunity on Friday as well. He urged Palestinians in the West Bank and within Israel to participate in large-scale rallies and confront Israeli soldiers at every opportunity. Addressing Palestinians residing within Israel, he implored them to participate in guarding duties within the I don't know how to say
Al-Aqsa.
Al-Aqsa
I'm not so sure I'm saying it right.
mosque to safeguard its Islamic heritage and its divine message, and to prevent the settler gangs from desecrating it.
Well, and that's the problem too, folks, is we have a media that is, again, they are not pro-Israeli. I think there's a difference, and I want to be careful with this. There's a difference between not supporting Israel and being anti-Semitic. I don't think these people represent that as far as, clearly Hamas is anti-Semitic, and I think a lot of these people are anti-Semitic. But again, there are some people that are politically, they have a political difference than Israel, and they feel that Israel is in the wrong in the area from a political standpoint, and that debate can be had. But I think they end up taking that debate, whether they are truly anti-Semitic or not. They clearly steer the messaging in one direction, and it is almost every news source out there. And by the way, I couldn't even find this article using Google. I had to use Brave. So again, you got Google, you got the media companies out there, and we see what's going on. And then we have the Democratic Party that is not friendly to Israel. It's just a fact. There may be one or two senators that say the right things, that fortunately or I don't know if that's not the right way to phrase it, but they have Jewish backgrounds. But again, we're seeing a lot of folks that claim to be Jewish that are not pro-Israeli and are do a lot to justify the deeds of terrorist organizations like Hamas.
There's some good points going back to the calls for Friday. There's some good points that have been brought up several times in the comments regarding our own borders and all the undocumented people that have crossed. I mean, who knows what type of people are in that,
or where they're at.
Well,
and
nobody knows
what their plans are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And now they're being called to action while they're in our country.
Well, and again, that's the thing that I want people to realize. Like, folks, it is if they can pull off this attack in Israel on such a wide scale with so many different moving parts and do it as well as they executed it, sneaking in a few dozen people that are going to end up getting their hands on guns, ammo, and start doing, these random terrorist attacks, that would be so easy to do, which goes back to how important it is to secure this border. And again, you can go back to Trump, you can say whatever you want, at least he understands that we need to secure our border. Everybody here, I think most people on the side of the right, we are pro-immigration. It is not a lot to ask that you go through a port of entry and go through the process that we currently have. As Democrats, they don't like that we have any sort of process, so they incentivize illegal immigration that are not coming through the normal protocols. And ultimately, what boggles my mind is, essentially when they're calling for immigration reform, they're talking about just let people walk in. And we can't do that. We have a country to secure, and a country without borders is not a country. And again, 9/11 was just 20 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. And now we don't even make it hard for people anymore.
So I remember seeing I don't think I ever read the article, but sometime around last week, seeing a headline about Biden regarding immigration and the border, now calling for some border wall to be built.
That's not going to happen, folks. If you believe that Biden is going to build any border wall, he is giving a little bit of trinkets over to the moderates and things like that. Because
his approval rating is at its all-time
100%.
low because of the immigration issue. But it says the White House announced last week that it would use its executive authority to sidestep 26 environmental and historical protection regulations in order to build segments of the border wall, contradicting a campaign-era promise that he would not build another foot of former President Trump's wall.
I think none of that's actually ever going to happen. It's 100% lip service. That is all he's doing to, because there's lots of Democrats out there that are pretty upset that are living on border towns. They know they're going to lose elections, and some of them are obviously genuinely concerned about this type of stuff. So he's giving lip service to start getting some votes kind of stowed away for the upcoming election. Let's talk about some of these or address some of these questions and comments that we have over
Jeff
there.
has a good point here. He says, for the record, Israel has a stunning intelligence community. So I wonder why their intelligence community failed at this.
They do have good intelligence. Ultimately, this was an intelligence failure broadly, both with U.S., our allies, and Israel. There's no doubt about it. But again, when something like this takes place, and I know that you have a large portion of those intelligence assets that were designed to fight terror, and you have them inward pointing to our own country and worrying about tracking, doing security and doing surveillance on, moms and dads that are showing up to school board meetings. We can see now for a fact that those resources should have been used in better places. There's no doubt about it.
I got a question.
Yep.
So you keep saying intelligence.
Yep.
I'm stupid. I've never left.
We weren't talking
I've
about
never
you.
left West Virginia ever. Never left the Eastern.
No one's
Panhandle
ever disputed that fact either.
I know. I know. Jay has always told me. He said the government's dumb. They never can keep a secret. Okay.
Bullshit.
But everybody's saying the intelligence was faulty on this and stuff. Could they have been tight-lipped enough so nobody knew this was happening?
It's possible.
Is it possible or is it not probable?
I
What do
think
you
it's.
mean
I
they've been
think. I
tight-lipped
think.
enough that nobody
Like
knows
they only
what's
told 4 people. The dude's hitting the buttons, and then the.
Well, there wasn't 4 people. There was
I know, but
hundreds of people.
But I'm saying they told the 4 people, and then they told the other dudes 2 hours before they were leaving, "Hey, this is what you're doing."
It's possible. I think it's unlikely.
Okay.
I think this is going to be one of those things where we start dissecting this, months, days, or we may not even hear about it, but just like 9/11,
think
when we
it was
later found
a
out,
bluff or
like, hey,
something?
there was clear intelligence that said this was going to be taking place, and people wrote it off.
I got you.
I think.
So what you
I
were
think-
saying, Chris, is Hamas didn't tell enough people ahead of time, and that's how they were able to keep it secret.
That's what I'm thinking.
Gotcha.
They only told this
I
much
thought you were
instead
saying
of.
that.
They
Intelligence
evaded
community
the
didn't-
surveillance, is
Yeah,
what he's
they
saying.
only told the 6 or 10 dudes, "Hey, you're going to send your 1,000 dudes here. Your 1,000 dudes here. You're
And they
sending.
waited till the last
You're
minute.
sending your
Yes.
1,000 rockets. Like 2 hours before.
Right.
Just kind of.
That crossed my mind, too.
Just blitzed them,
I think that is.
which is unlikely, but it could
It,
be.
is
It could be.
It could be. When you start understanding the electronic surveillance capabilities, there was clear comms going to take place.
Frosty Travel says actionable intelligence was given. I don't know his source. It was totally ignored. Actually told to wait to see if it happens.
So they were seeing if they called a bluff.
Yeah, I don't know
That was my other take on
where
it.
that actionable intelligence was coming from. If we're saying that
But
was
I feel
Israeli,
like that's also a change in mindset too, where now we sit back and wait if a terrorist attack is actually going to happen instead of trying to
be preemptive.
be proactive about it
Yep.
ahead of time.
Who knows?
I just want to know how they came on paragliders. Did they just come out of like planes?
I don't know.
Go ask them.
They jump off the
That
big
is
mountain.
that is
Jump
that
off
is
the big mountain.
that is a mountainous area. So I mean, they could have. There's plenty of high ground to jump off of with paragliders, and they could have been. So Jeff may have heard this story. Jeff
interesting to me.
Hahn. So I'll tell you this right now. When we were initially pushing into Iraq, I remember sitting in an area we were guarding, basically a fuel point. That as we were on our way up from Kuwait, we had already hit a town called Al Hala, and we were moving into Baghdad from there. And I remember being in there, and I hear something over the radio, and they're like, "Everybody, watch out for ultralight airplanes." So
No shit.
the Republican Guard, the special operations of Saddam there. Apparently, there was a few guys that were running around and like dropping grenades on people from, and apparently
They don't
the
move too
story
fast
is
either.
the story is like literally one of the little birds saw them and just start following them.
I mean, he
Fully
was
loaded
probably-
down with
I'm
guns.
saying he's probably on idle, trying
Yeah.
to just stay behind.
So now he's they end up shooting this guy out of the sky,
Just like,
but it's
it's got like a crossbody bag full of grenades and just
Crossbody bag.
they say, "Ah, la, la, la,
I mean,
la, la, la."
when you think about it at the end of the day, it's out of the box thinking that
I mean, yeah, I
special
mean-
operations are known for, and you can get a lot done with very little resources.
When you take them by surprise like that.
I'm gonna tell
Well,
you
if
one
you have the
thing.
will,
I tell you what, if he looked over his shoulder and saw a little bird behind him, I bet you he crapped his pants.
I bet he did.
He probably went, "Ah, shit."
Yep. It's like I'm gonna be
coming for my
seeing
versions.
72 versions here real quick.
Oh my! I couldn't even imagine.
Let's see what we got here. We got let's see. Jeff says, guys, they had markers, probably not how large, but something was going to happen.
Yeah,
What they don't,
Jackson, we
we
can't
can't.
see it.
Yeah,
and when you hover over it, buddy, we can see it. What they don't have is free leash to do anything about it. That may, again, we're all speculating.
I have no idea.
Egypt, if the paraglider Corps had a thing, I'm re-enlisting. If the paraglider Corps becomes a thing, I'm re-enlisting. Yeah. Rotor wash alone would take him out of the sky. Paragliders can take off from the ground with 1 or 2 people.
Oh.
Yeah, and they can be towed too.
Oh,
They can be
yeah.
towed via, a vehicle too. So again, we have an enemy that hates America, that hates Israel, and we're not taking them seriously, and they're not taking us seriously either. We're left in a world where America is no longer leading. Our enemies don't respect us, don't fear us, and we're seeing the results of that. And I would be seriously concerned if I was you about the next year or so. And again, there's some things that you guys, I really implore you to do. Number one is you need to get armed and stay armed, right? This is the time to start practicing that concealed carry. Carry everywhere you can. Quit making excuses. If your holster doesn't feel good, buy 10 more holsters and go through until you find a holster that works. That's part of the process, folks. I can't tell you.
We got a bin of holsters.
Yep. And at the end of the
90%
day,
of them.
there's going to be holsters that Gary says are good, or some other some other person on YouTube, or wherever says good, and they're not going to work for you. Unfortunately, you gotta try them, figure out if it works. If it doesn't work, the other thing is you need a couple of different holsters, right? You need some ankle holsters. You need inside the waistband holster. If it's cold enough, use a bigger gun. Use outside the waistband holster. Cover it with a coat. Get armed and stay armed. I would highly suggest for many of you out there, if you haven't done so already, is get yourself some body armor. Make sure you have a gun belt, some extra mags, all those things. You'll never go wrong being prepared. Best case scenario, you'll never use that stuff except to maybe go train at the range, go do some training, but at least you have that stuff. Make sure you're more prepared and more ready than anyone that is going to try to bring harm to you.
And wear it all when you're going training. You at least look cool.
Absolutely.
There's your-
One thing that I did for a couple of years and I kind of got out of the habit of, and I'm definitely, again, we have new situations taking place. So our threat level should be, in our minds, has increased. So we need to prepare and act accordingly, right? So one thing that I used to do a lot that I'm going to get back in the habit of is making sure I got a rifle in my truck. If you got a truck gun, SBR, something like that,
if an AR-9,
if you're a patriot and you're still rocking that pistol brace, freaking go with it, man. It will not hurt you to get, if you can afford it, get some night vision, some IR aiming devices. Those, stuff like that is way at the bottom of the list of the priorities,
Robin.
but these are all good ideas.
We can help you out with that as well.
Robin.
Stock up on ammo, right? Stock up on ammo. Make sure you got plenty of ammo. Make sure you got plenty of mags loaded, whether they're in your car, whether they're in your home, whether they're on your person. Make sure you have ammo. And the other part of this is make sure you have med gear
I
on
guarantee you ammo prices are about to start going back up. They've
Maybe,
dropped
maybe.
a little bit, but I think they're going to start
I
going
think
back
it's
up.
more.
I don't know. I don't want to get in the business of speculating on
No,
the
I'm
ammo
not
prices.
either, but I'm just.
I'm low on
it's a-
5.56.
But for sure, you need to have medical gear in your person. You need to have medical gear in your home, and you need to have medical gear in your car. And again, you can keep a small amount of med gear, takes care of you, takes care of one of your loved ones on your person, and then have a larger supply in your car, and then have a larger supply back at home. When you see these type of attacks, folks, going back to 9/11, going back to different mass shooting events, going back to this attack specifically, folks, there's not enough people to come help you. And again, there's lots of people that I guarantee you died that wouldn't have died if they had tourniquets, if they knew how to pack a wound, if they knew how to treat for hypothermia prevention. All these things that take place in these traumatic events and during traumatic injuries, folks, you need the skill. So you need to come to a course, whether it's ours or somebody else. And you never know. It might be your life or your kid's life, and it may be something as mundane as a car accident that you'll end up saving your life or somebody that you care about. But those skills are important, and they're never a bad investment. And again, just like car insurance or anything else that we do, hopefully you'll never have to use those things. But I promise you, there's going to be some peace of mind when things do go bad, and you're prepared at least to defend yourself and defend your family. And then we can start working on other preparation, longer term preparation when it comes to food, water supplies, and things like that. All that's important too. But that's not where you start. Where you need to start is making sure that you can defend your home and you can take care of some basic medical emergencies, or at least be able to sustain life until that higher level of care gets to you, because it's probably going to be a while.
Yeah, if there's a mass thing going on, it could be hours, days before anyone could come.
And even if they come immediately, one ambulance or even two ambulances, there's 40 casualties.
We're already overbooked in Berkeley.
Yeah, like they're not going to have the gear or the equipment to be able to take care of you.
Shoot, the hospitals are overloaded with COVID.
Absolutely.
They were on code red with COVID for months.
Oh, let's see what we got here.
I like Jeff Hahn's thing. That's actually not a bad idea, the way to put your money.
Treat it
or the way
like
to
tithing,
think
10%
it. Yeah.
of what you make.
Yeah.
Put that up, Jackson. I think that's a good one. So everybody can see.
Bottom.
Yeah, that one. That's. I mean, 10% is not huge if you just think about it in longevity of your family's life or protecting your family's life. I
And
mean,
just
that's
like with tithing,
minuscule.
it feels like a huge chunk at first that you're taking out of your budget,
Yeah,
but
but-
after time, you get used to that chunk, and you know
Absolutely.
that it's dedicated.
Absolutely.
That's not a bad idea. I have to get
Let's see
Robin
what we
on
got
that
here. Some other questions. Jason says another reason I'm taking as many courses as I can. Shot a Jackie last weekend. Scar
That's a jackal.
clone. Oh, jackal.
one. Jackal.
Gotcha. I can't see that far.
There you go.
Shot a jackal last week. Scar clone ran well. Good.
308.
You'd have been a lot more accurate if you'd been using MIL, not MOA. Never be without an SBR in your vehicle. Learn to reload. All these are good advice, folks. Scroll down some more. We got some Frosty.
Or have friends that reload.
Frosty says, having extensive medical training, you're less than a minute away from death in a serious incident. Your body weakens quickly when the blood starts. Absolutely. So, again, this is one of my things I hit on every single med class. Is a lot of people don't carry, tourniquets because they think they can
Spook.
use a belt or whatever else, right? Folks, when your kid's sitting there bleeding out, that is not the time.
Sorry, son, I didn't want to buy a tourniquet. I didn't want to
Yeah.
spend $35 on a tourniquet.
And on top of that, that is not the time, and it's not even practical. It's not even realistic that we're going to start doing arts and crafts and go on a scavenger hunt to get these things, folks. Go take one day without actually having the materials on you and make an effective tourniquet. Number one, it's not going to be effective. Number two, it's going to be slow, and it's going to take longer than 3 minutes to actually get the materials and actually put it on and somewhat try to make those things effective. Again, you got to have that gear. Mixed Book says F mill. Whoa.
That's
Watch
what I was
out.
cracking up at.
Watch out. Watch.
He'd
This is
be
a family
very
show.
He'd be very happy to know about the phone call I got today.
What's that?
Which one?
Well, the guy that's going to buy the MPA rifle on Friday, and he said he's going to order his first mill scope to go on it. He's always been an MOA guy, but you converted him.
Yep.
I thought you were talking
Converting the
about
masses,
calls you
Jeff.
got.
Converting him.
You're gonna be
He's
the
saying
lone
Gary's
survivor.
Gary's video made so much sense to him, and he's buying his first mill scope.
Listen to that,
Where's
Jeff.
saying, this
where's
is an
the
actual
easel at? We need to
conversation.
pull the easel
Listen to
back
that,
in here.
Jeff. We got one person out there that listens to reason. Let's say you don't need those kids resource hogs.
I'll let the moms read that.
They are a resource. They're little freaking parasites.
Sorry, Jackson.
Jeff,
Jeff
Jeff, I already sold your
Teaching the
mill
world.
scope. I had an offer I couldn't refuse. It was 100% profit, given that you sent that to me. No, yeah, I think we have his. Do we have a scope yet?
What scope?
Jeff Hahn sent a scope for his.
We have his rifle.
Okay,
I don't see it on the list.
we will actually spin up the mystery machine after this. Make sure we got your scope. I don't know if we'll do or not.
If it's in the box with his rifle, we have it. If it's not, I haven't seen anything else come in.
Yeah, so folks, I'm not going to keep this going any longer than it needs to. But the fact of the matter is that if this doesn't wake you up, I guess another 9/11 will.
I need to put a couple of things on my list.
And
to-do list right
and
here.
at a minimum, folks, you guys need to make sure that you're ready to, protect yourselves at all times. Guns, ammo, and med gear. That's where you start. And the training that covers all three of those, that's where you start. So everything starts at ParamountTactical.com. So make sure you go check out our upcoming training schedule, which we will be getting up pretty soon, folks. All joking aside, or removing that joke, I'm serious about that, folks. You know, whether it's with us or with somebody else, make sure you got guns, make sure you got ammo, make sure you have med supplies, and make sure you have current training, folks. That stuff changes. Not so much on the gun stuff. Some of that stuff does change when it comes to tactics and things like that, and lessons learned, and we get better and we evolve. But the med side does change. New equipment that you need to train on. You need to be able to operate all the different tourniquets out there that most people are going to be using. You need to understand March, what that means, and how to use that acronym. All those things, and then you need to be able to do that under stress. And that's what we do with our training. We make sure that we're teaching these things, how to do that properly, what equipment makes sense, what equipment to buy, what equipment not to buy. There's a lot of bad information out there when it comes to that. And then we actually have you execute that under a stressful environment. And it's a lot less stress than you're going to, actually experience in real life. Let's see. Jeff said, I
Jason?
found a mil scope in my box of crap stuff. Was gonna put it on a 22 trainer, but even that is too accurate for a PO, just mil scope.
Jason said,
Fair
don't
enough.
use. Jason, I will address the UPS situation tomorrow with your package.
Yep,
UPS lost his package.
that's awesome. UPS is really going downhill
Son
lately.
of
They
bitches.
have.
We've
Man.
had so many cleaning rods bent lately.
gun
We used
vice
to only see that.
broken.
Yeah, gun vice is broken. We used to only see that
was
with
UPS?
Yeah.
UPS.
Oh, geez.
We used to only see that with FedEx. We never had a problem with UPS.
FedEx is
for
probably
many
still
years.
dirty stuff, right?
Oh, their stuff is
It's just
disgustingly
filthy.
dirty.
Yeah. But they break stuff too.
Well, they steal ammo too. They
Yeah.
literally cut open a case of ammo and removed all but one box, so it still had some weight to it, and
Are
then
you s-
and then taped it back closed and delivered it.
Damn.
See, next thing you know, he's going to try to convert us to metric. You don't need to convert to metric. Just mil.
I tell you, the other thing I was going to say.
Although I
is,
will say,
on your list, Gary,
if you understand metric, even mil is even easier.
on your list, you all carry 90% of what's on.
We do carry that.
We
And look,
carry-
I am not. Look,
Everything you
I
went
want to be
over
careful about this. I am not
is on.
trying to exploit this and turn this into like, hey, number one, hopefully, if you're watching this, you are buying from us, right? We really do appreciate the support when you buy from us.
I'm just trying to save shipping.
We're a small business. Well, most of these people are
We
not.
carry-
Oh, no, I'm personal. I'm being
We
selfish.
carry 100% of this.
But at the end of the day,
100%. Excuse me.
if we never sold an item, I'd be telling you the exact same thing because that's what I
I
believe.
didn't know you had.
But-
I didn't know you had night vision.
We do.
We do.
We have night vision. We have IR aiming devices. We have water filtration supplies. We have fire starters. We have. We're a Mountain House dealer.
Yep.
We have. Med
That's a
gear.
cool one.
But like Gary said, and I'm not just trying to sell you stuff. I'm just saying we have these things. But on the flip side of that is, that if you buy from us, if you go look at what selection we have, we know that it's. You can,
quality gear.
You can be assured that it's the quality stuff that you're buying. We're not going to post the crap stuff up there. We don't sell the crap stuff. So if you want to know that you're buying, but you don't really know what to buy, you can go look at what we have, do the research on the items yourself, the brands, and
Yep.
if you feel so inclined, buy from us. If
And
you
then
want to
if-
buy from Amazon, that's on you.
Then, if you need to know how to make your Mountain House meal, you can call Summer. She can get you walked through that.
Yep.
You add hot water.
Some
You
people
call
might
Sum-
need to
you
know
can-
how
you
to
can
boil
call Summer
water.
in the emergency and say, "How do I eat my Mountain House meal?" And then
Hey, I got these Mountain House meals.
tear the bag open.
I can't get
Make
them
sure you
to
take
cook.
the
I bought these off of
That thing
Amazon.
out of there. The one that says "Do not eat."
yeah.
First of all, that is the best seasoning on earth.
Cut it open and sprinkle
Those are
it in there.
delicious.
Some people forget to take it out. I'm just saying.
The other thing I will tell you, folks, I know it's a little bit of a ways off, but I want you to start thinking about it.
Christmas.
Again, for all your Christmas shopping, look, we'd really appreciate the support on that. So
Do y'all do gift cards too?
we do gift
do.
cards. We do gift cards.
They're on the website.
Everybody, your man would love that. If you don't know what to get, just
First
get
of
a gift
all,
card.
you're excluding a lot of women out there that would love it just as much. First of all,
I'm telling you,
your wife probably wants that gun that you want.
No,
and
yeah.
you can buy it for her because
And then
you
you can
are
shoot
such
it.
a generous man.
I think
Get her
this
the-
happened once or twice.
get her the Michael
No.
Kors bag, and then make sure you get.
Michael
Sure.
Kors better upgrade Robin to that Gucci.
Oh,
I'm
that's
just saying.
on his Chanel, maybe some Bear Bradley, Jackie Chan, whatever bags.
There was something before one of you broke my train of thought. It's pretty easy to
That's
do
easy.
these. It is easy to do these days. There's no doubt about it. I am out of memory. There's no doubt about it. I'm out of.
You are
Clean
officially
out.
out.
You just need to dump into a hard drive. And
No,
then
he
go
needs
from
to
there.
replace some hard
He's
drives.
an
They're just
external
broken.
hard drive rebooted.
I need some more RAM and some more freaking. hard drive
Maybe
space.
you
Daniel
maybe you
God,
should
as
have
my
bought a
judge
RAM.
says, he puts his Mountain House in the microwave 3 times and they're still crunchy. Daniel, you gotta boil your water. You open the packet, you take the moisture thing out, you pour the boiling water in the
If
packet,
that's a serious
Daniel.
one, that dude has
and then you seal it up and let it sit for a little while. You open it up, stir it a little bit, seal it back, let it sit for a while longer, and it's good.
Hey Jeff, ship
You know,
that to
when
me.
you start dealing with the public on the scale that we've been dealing with in the last few years, you start to realize, you start to question, is this a joke or not?
Daniel, not only is God judging you right now, but we are. No,
That's right.
I'm just kidding.
God and Jeebus.
Yeah. Oh, again, folks, Summer touched on it, but we are expanding some offerings there as far as getting into night vision. We do have additional optics coming. If you would like a good deal, we can't advertise this stuff, but if you're interested in getting a good deal on Night Force or Zero Compromise, come see us in the shop. Shoot us an email. Talk to us. We can help you out there.
Jason already bought one.
You charged him double, right?
Yeah. Especially because he was buying Mill. No, I'm just kidding.
Sweet.
I gave him a deal because he was buying Mill.
If you want to buy a Night Force that is MOA, we do not give discounts on those. We charge extra for those.
Jackson, where are the sound effects?
Speaking of which, we still have some MOA sucks patches and stickers.
And
Go check those
stickers.
out online.
Oh, they're sweet too, by the way.
If you haven't done so already, make sure you're signing up for our newsletter on Substack. We got some exciting announcements coming into the new year for long range. Got a lot of great stuff, and it's because of you guys.
Jeff asked about lasers too.
We have IR aiming devices as well. You tell us what you want, we can get it.
You can come check it out when
Body armor,
I know I want to look at some of that.
helmets, you name it.
I tell you what, the night vision and IR makes you feel like you're a straight up night ninja.
I tell you what, if that's what we played with last week, they're legit.
Yeah. Sweet. All right, folks, we're gonna go ahead and end it there tonight. Call it shorts, folks. We definitely appreciate all the love, support. Yeah, man, we couldn't do this without you, and we appreciate it. We really do. But until next time, go ahead, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.